Welcome back to Burnout Break Room, the podcast that's like a break room but helpful, where we look at burnout through a realistic lens, talk about ways to take a break from the grind, and spill the tea. I'm Caitlin Truhella, creativity coach and speaker.
And I'm Lyndie Larimore, licensed therapist, certified career coach, and consultant.
We are your hosts, and thank you for joining us here in the Burnout Break Room. Hey, Lyndie, how you doing?
Hi, Caitlin. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I feel like I'm getting every last little drip of summer before I go into my get under my blanket for several months mode.
It's pre-hibernation prep, like
Yeah.
squeezing the last bits of sunshine out of summer. And as a vitamin D deficient friend, I feel that. But I have to
Yeah.
say, I and also because I'm not as much of a summer person, I am so excited for autumn and Halloween. Personally, winter is my favorite season, but we're getting there. So I'm enjoying the transition.
I'm trying to get in all my bike rides before I have to hang my bike up for the AC months. That's what I'm going to do right after this. But yeah, I have to say I'm in Massachusetts. It has been the most gorgeous end of summer
Mm,
I've ever experienced. So I feel so grateful. I just try to be outside every moment that I can get. So if I
lovely.
ever complain about the weather, I try to also be aware that there are some beautiful days
Mm,
and take advantage and take care of my holistic self, which brings me to our wonderful guest today. We are so excited to have Deborah C Smith. She is a holistic business coach, marketing strategist, and host of the Mindset to Market podcast. Deborah helps her clients break through limiting beliefs and create a life of abundance by harnessing the power of atomic daily habits and sustainable business practices, including even the simplest shift in mindset. Her mission is to help ambitious solopreneurs build simple systems inside their business that allows them to grow their impact and income while living more of their lives offline. Deborah, that sounds so exciting. I I have to say, as a solopreneur myself, I was not at all prepared for how online I'm expected to be. So please tell us about yourself, about your work, and maybe what brought you to your work.
Hi, thank you. I think everyone working in the online space in any capacity right now feels a little bit burned out by it. I don't think any even people whose job is influencer, that's all they do, right? Because chronically being online is there's a lot going on. It can be mentally, physically, emotionally exhausting. And ever since social media became the thing that it is in our world, there has been this, I think, mythology around how to market your offers and how to be a business in the world, that it's necessary, required, and you're not going to make it if you don't have like a big social media following or something like that. And having been in business for a long time and seen all the same stalwart marketing principles and the things that have always work every single time there's a new piece of technology, every time we level up and there's new ways to do things, the same things are always true. Have a really solid quality offer that delivers real results for real human beings at a price point that makes sense, and tell really good stories to get people to understand that you're the person that can help them. Like that stays the same no matter if we're online, offline, no matter how you set up your funnel to attract new clients or to do sales. So you can be chronically online and do all the things, but you can also not do that at all. And I have a couple of clients who just are allergic to the internet, don't want to do any social media. And that's fine because there's lots of ways to set up an operation for your business that allows you to live the lifestyle that you want to live. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of my favorite things ever is to kind of ideate with people. What is your unique set of steps that is the pathway to your special thing that you do? And it's very different for every single person, even if we're all in the same niche and have the same exact ideal client and we sell the exact same product. Because I'm me, it's going to be different the way I do it than the way you ladies might do it. So I think weaving in like the idea of how do you be holistic about your business is starting with the belief that you can have a lifestyle that feels good, and you don't have to go, bend over backwards and do things that don't feel good, whatever that looks like for you. So not necessarily a direct answer to your question, but I got to that place trying all the things and realizing some things don't work for me. Some things don't work for some of my clients. Everything kind of works in terms of marketing your business, but it's important that you start with your core values and figure out like what are the things that I'm really happy about doing, because the things that we're not happy about doing, guess what? Leads to burnout. And it happens quickly with the online space. That happens very quickly for people, is that they feel overwhelmed when they don't get the response that they're trying to get right away. They spend all this time creating like an amazing, short form video that really speaks to their client and really puts all the pieces in place and shares about their offer. And then they get like no likes, it just gets scrolled on by and they've just spent half a day like shooting this little feature film, right? And they're exhausted. And then there's nothing happens. It just goes away. It's gone. It's out there somewhere, but no one even saw it. I think that leads to burnout really quick. So yeah, I'm out here trying to help my clients not burn out.
Mm.
Absolutely. And Deborah, I have to say that you're absolutely right. The marketing burnout is real,
Real.
but this concept that we can almost reverse engineer our marketing efforts as solo entrepreneurs to, make it work for us so that it is not only holistic but also sustainable is absolute music to my ears, because so many people talk about the formulas that you have to follow for social media. Like these rules are unwavering, and in order to like hack the algorithm or whatever, that you absolutely have to post on this platform once a day and on this platform 3 times a day. And that's not only is that not sustainable for everybody's lifestyle, but to your point earlier, for some people, it's just not a preference, like unfortunately, social media in so many ways is a necessary evil in terms of marketing yourself and getting yourself out there. But I would really love to know more about like how these different styles can be manifested. So, for example, like if somebody really wants to dial in or like be super focused with their marketing efforts, could you walk me through what that might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I think about, so basically the idea, generally speaking, is if you have a product or a service, you also have a capacity. What is your
Mm,
capacity to serve? So if you offer a one-on-one consultation, let's just say you're an accountant, I'm just making this up, obviously, and you can really only do your job and deliver your offer one-to-one because you don't have a course yet or a group coaching program or a community. What you do is you meet with your client for an hour or 2 hours and you go through their taxes or their bills or whatever. That's your job. You have to determine what your capacity is to serve and what the price point is. That's like basically the offer creation process. Then from there, all the marketing is getting as many eyeballs as possible on how you solve a problem with your offer, with your product or service. And that can be done a million different ways, right? You could
mm,
basically write to your local newspaper and position yourself as the expert accountant in your hometown and have a little column where now you're an expert basically on a print newspaper that's distributed throughout the whole town that you're from. Like that there's no social media involved in getting that kind of attention, but you're being positioned as an expert. So there's obviously
mm,
public relations like that, right? And at the end of the day, the formula is going to be building an audience of people who want to buy your product or service. So why social media has been such an interesting development and why it works so well is because it employs what is one of the most sticky ways to market something, which is word of mouth. So if you have a lot of followers and you have a lot of people reposting and sharing your content on a social platform, there's this automatic authority that gets built there. So if you
Mm,
post something about your podcast, for example, and then I repost it, all the people in my little audience are going to think that you're more important because I've taken the time. Like, it's automatic validation, automatic authority. So that's why social media is such a quick way to build, whatever. But the formula is just create an audience, nurture an audience, care about your audience, serve your audience, and offer them opportunities to pay you for your higher, value of work, right? So no matter what, that's the same. The way to grow that audience is, for since caveman days, is tell good stories. Like, the best
mm,
marketing is just storytelling. So so especially now we're kind of in this era of the personal brand, right? Like, the more we get to know you, the more likely we're going to gravitate towards you when we need whatever you do. So those little nuanced things about your life, like that favorite rock and roll band that you had a concert ticket to, just funny stories about things that have happened in your life when you maybe failed and then got back up again, or, an interaction with a person or a client that shows not only social proof that you worked with a client, but also shows how you helped them. All those stories shape the perspective of your audience, and that can be done in so many different ways that it does not have to be done through social media. I'll give you a quick example. I have a client who she's an English as a second language teacher, and specifically, she had a background working in the court system in New Jersey, and her burning passion was to help new American immigrants who are new green card holders not only learn to speak the language in the way that she did when she first moved here 40 years ago. So learning the slang, learning like the proper use of American terminology, or
mm.
American, I mean, just basically using the English language in a way that it feels natural so they feel more comfortable. But also, she wants to teach them their basic civil liberties. So if they get pulled over by a cop, they have the right to remain silent. Like, they know that they're
Wow.
allowed to have an attorney, that they know like really basic stuff that could really, really help them, right? So she did not want to do social media. She's in her mid 60s, just felt like she missed that ship and was like, I just can't do this. So I said, no problem. What we need is an audience and great storytelling. We don't need to do social media. What we'll do instead is we'll create a Zoom meeting room that's a weekly open house. So we created all of our offers, and we created, specific little classes, a trip to the bank, how to speak to the grocer, like all these little niche classes that are like, a few dollars each, virtual classes. They all exist. So anybody can buy them on her website. Then she just started opening a room once a week for 45 minutes. And literally, it's her in there reading the newspaper.
Oh,
Oh,
She's
wow.
Guess what that did for her potential? So she told the woman who worked in the building that she lives in, if you know anybody that wants to learn better English, tell them to come to this thing. All they have to do is click one link. So you can do that from any smartphone. So it's really low tech. So even these people who don't have any working knowledge of or who can't read English or whatever, they're clicking this link. Now they're in the room with her and she's there with a newspaper. So she's reading the newspaper, and then basically they're like speaking in English with her. They're getting super high value, right? They're getting, like, dialogue is the quickest way to learn a language. And then they're telling their friends, they're telling their neighbors, they're telling their aunt, they're telling word of mouth. So she's like, "Oh, I'm Miss Lulu. It's Miss Lulu's ESL Academy." At the end of each open house, she just drops the link to her website, and that's where all her classes are. It's the most genius funnel because it's all word of mouth. She has done zero advertising, and she's getting, week after week, people are coming into this thing, learning about her offer and buying from her. But she had to seed that, and she had to build the back end of that first. But my point is, I guess, like, that's one of my favorite examples of like how to completely circumnavigate social media. When we first started out, we were going to build her like a little YouTube channel, or maybe open up an Instagram page just for the ESL Academy. And it was just the heaviest lift for her. It was paralyzing her, right? She could
Mm,
not envision doing what that would take.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, great, let's go a different route.
Mhm.
It would be really easy. Now she has a little flyer in the local library that with a QR code, they
Oh,
scan
that's
that,
cool.
it takes them right to her
Mm,
website. It's just so
Yeah.
simple. So because she has an offer that people need, and she delivers it in a way that feels safe to people,
Mm.
and people are talking about it. She's
Mm.
building an audience naturally. And what we did was we set up an email marketing situation for her. So that I would say like, one undeniable core piece of a growable, scalable marketing system is going to be a proprietary email list. And even though email marketing is kind of like dinosaur these days with all the like fancy ways that you can quickly connect to people, I swear by having a list of people who have said, yes, you can have my email, and nurturing those people, those are going to be your warmest leads at any given time. They're going to be the ones that have
hmm
built trust with. They're going to be the people who love hearing your stories week after week, who learn from you, who listen to your podcast, who want to read your book, who will come to a workshop. They're most likely to buy from you. So that being set up on the back end, I think is a critical foundational tool for any solopreneur. And then just slowly growing that list by being present in places where your ideal client hangs out. And I think if you are, there's like an interesting thing happening with like millennial business owners who, what I see anyways, my lens on it is like there is an age range of people who grew up with the internet. And so if your business was born, if you only ever knew life on the internet, you probably don't feel the same as some of the people in the older age groups. So it's interesting to watch some of them. I learn a lot from them. They have zero barrier to entry with just like selling on stories all day long. Like they have no problem doing that. But that is not most people. It's not.
mm,
And
Mhm.
so I think for most people, the most important thing to consider when you're thinking about how do I share my work and really build my audience is what are the stories in my zone of expertise that make me who I am? What are my special skills? What are my lived experiences that where I won, where I failed, where I learned something, where something that's just special about you? What's your favorite recipe? What's your dog's name? Like we care about those things because as human beings, we are innately curious. So if
mm,
you start a story and you say, "Hey, I was walking down the street the other day and all of a sudden I saw this giant balloon pop and out came this crazy blue liquid." So that took me 3 or 4 seconds to say that story. I have to know what was in the balloon now. Like
hmm
98% of human beings are going to stick around to find out what was in the balloon. Like that's just in our human nature. So storytelling is this mechanism with a beginning, middle, and an end that you open a loop. And as human beings who are both curious and complicated, we want to close the loop. So we want to know the end of the story. We want the result we want to know what happens next. So really the most basic thing that anyone needs to do is tell good stories in a place where your ideal client is listening to stories.
Mhm.
That could be on the internet, but it could be in a really comfortable, cozy, private community space that you build basically for free, right? You could literally say, hey, everyone, once a week I'm opening a Zoom and I'm going to share each week I'm going to share 3 tips in my niche expertise. I
Mhm.
promise you that will grow word of mouth like
Mhm.
wildfire if you're good at what you do and you're
Mhm.
helping them and you tell good stories. And
Mhm.
that's it. They're going to tell everybody, yo, I'm going to this Zoom with this lady who is an expert and I can't believe it. It's free. They're
Mhm.
going to feel like they're getting so much value because you're in the actual space with them and that connection feels good and they're getting something out of it. They're going to tell their friend. And that's the same as why social media actually works.
Mhm.
absolutely. Deborah, mind blown. The concept of being able to market your services and what you're doing without social media, even just with a simple Zoom room, that's incredible. Like I feel like that is the especially for everybody like we said who, is experiencing marketing burnout, that is the inspirational story that we needed today.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think there's so many, especially women, I just have to call it out, who are struggle with visibility issues because of the
Yes.
way we were raised. Like if you really
Yes.
want to get down to it, like I when I do live whatever, if I'm speaking on a stage or if I'm going on any kind of video connection. It's one thing if I'm working with a client, obviously I want to appear professional and well groomed and, like healthy and vibrant. But we women, we tend to really hyper focus on our appearance
Mm,
and just the
mm,
vanity piece. There's layers to it. Is your hair done? Is your
mm,
makeup right? Are people going to be judging you? Like we were raised to believe, we were just shown image after image of this like perfect ideal woman. And whether or not we bought into that aesthetic and that idea, it was shoved down our throats from a young age. So women raised in America have been preconditioned to be concerned about visibility,
mhm,
whether or not we admit it, whether or not we deal with it, whether or not we excavate it.
mm,
It's layered into our psyche. It's in there,
Mm.
right? So
mm,
you can be a woman who says, I don't really care what anyone thinks. You can be a rebel, you can be a riot girl, you can be a total hardcore feminist and balk the conditioning, but that does not forego that the conditioning is there.
mm,
It's there.
mm,
So there we
mm,
are, with social media being the like quickest and fastest way to go viral and get in front of a million
mm,
eyeballs.
mm,
It's just like not the right formula for a lot of people. And
mm,
trying to compete in that marketplace in that way is exhausting.
mm.
It's at the end of one day, you're like, I'm done. I give up. You want to quit running your business,
Yep.
giving up on your passion because you can't what? Like get like traction on a stupid app. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Mhm.
I so appreciate all of this, Deborah. I almost wish I'd met you a year ago just because I one of the first things that happened when I shifted from a more corporate space to starting a coaching and consulting business was that dread that I had worked. I was so proud of myself because I had finally gotten off of all social media with the exception of LinkedIn, right? Like, it was such a great feeling. I felt so free. And then, I did the tiniest bit of research, and everyone was like, if you're doing coaching and consulting, it's LinkedIn and social media, and that's it. That's it. That's how you market. And no one said that there were any other options. Like it was either that or like sign up for conferences, which is fine, but costs a decent amount of money and doesn't always, it wasn't necessarily the venue for me. And to your point, Deborah, I'm so aware of because the reason I say all this, I was burnt out from social media just by being a woman in the world, just by being a feminist in the world, just by being someone who has political beliefs in the world,
Yeah,
right?
it's hard to know. Do I go online and be like, hey everyone, we're starving children in Gaza? Or do I be
Mm,
like, hey everyone, I'm a
Mhm.
coach, come buy my offer? Like you have to choose.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, such a good point. Such a good point. Oh,
I know
oh,
for me
wow.
that paralyzes me. Like
Mm,
having values that I'm like, how can we be ignoring these things and talking about it's a
yeah,
fine line. You have to navigate if you're online, if
yeah.
you're on social media.
Oh,
Absolutely. So, like, our audience really does want to have that personal connection with us. And in doing so, they also want to know, they want to make sure that their beliefs are aligned with ours
Yeah.
mm,
because people are becoming more and more conscious of how they're spending their money, where they're spending their money. And so it is a fine line to walk in terms of like how you telegraph what your principles are so that your audience knows that they're aligned with you, but not falling into those niches where people want to make it all about arguing all day because
Yes.
even if they're conversations that need to be had in a holistic way, that can lead to burnout too. And of course, the whole reason we as solopreneurs are in those spaces online is to show our offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I am so politically, right? Like with all the
mm,
things that are happening in this country, we're at a volatile breaking point. We're at a fever pitch point where we're basically in like a non yet, we're in a civil war, right? We're divided. And so like it's really touchy. It's touchy to go out publicly and express your values if you
yeah.
have beliefs that align with one or the other quote
Mhm,
side.
mm,
I think it's interesting to me because I really believe like the facade of us being pitted against each other is really truly just a facade. We're all essentially want the same things. We want security, we want to be healthy, we want to have, opportunity, we want to feel like our life has a purpose. Like that's the human condition. Most people, that's really all we really want, right?
Mm,
Definitely some people are like, no, I want to be a billionaire and like own space or whatever. But
Mm.
there's most people, the average human being is like, I want security. I want to feel safe. I want to have like a little piece. I want to have a little property where I can do whatever I do. And I want to have a purpose with my life and have
Mm.
a healthy family. And so I think that we're more alike than different. And
Mm.
I try not to buy into the like fear mongering stuff that is perpetuated online. But I also feel strongly, for me, I've made the choice, and this was a difficult choice. I'm not going to not speak my values
Mm.
because I can't live with myself if I don't. I'm
mm-hmm,
also not going to stop selling my offer because that's my business. And
Mm.
it took
Yeah.
me, I think, I've been self-employed for 18 years. I have put the, rubber to the road. I've put the work in long enough that I don't feel like I have to justify that anymore. Like if you're following me on my business page, please regard that as my business marketing channel and expect me to sell from there. Like that's why I have it. That's why I built this. You're following me because I can help you. So sometimes it's free help, sometimes it's paid help. I speak about my job here. I also speak about my beliefs here because that's who I am. And I
mm,
think that that does matter. But every single time I want to create a social media post that is going to have like a political ramification or some could be construed as controversial in some way, I try to get really, I check in with my nervous system first. Like, is this going to benefit me? Why am I doing this? What is the point? Am I trying to get attention, or is this something that I
Yeah.
can't live with myself if I don't say it? And
mm,
I have to, I
Mm.
kind of run myself through a couple of questions. Like, am I just trying to be relevant and have a point, be seen, which is not of the right motivation. If it's because I want my ideal client who's out there watching me to know that I'm a leader and I'm not afraid, that's valuable.
mm,
And if it's because I can't live without letting people know this is who I am, that's valuable. But if it's
Mm.
just to kind of like draw more attention or something, I don't
Mm.
think that's the right purpose for that kind of content.
Mm.
Which I think people get. I think it's just good to check in with yourself before you put anything on the internet. Is this a service? You
Yeah.
know, and it's your social media. You can say whatever you want. You can be like, my dog is getting a bath today. Great. Or you could be like, hey, I'm launching a brand new program today. Come on over. And I think it's
But
just more about just checking in with yourself. What is this? What's the goal here?
absolutely, Deborah, this is so rich, and I feel like I could say 50 things based on what you're saying, and this is new too. Like I really appreciate that we're having this conversation and that we're having it now because we've touched on burnout because of the political moment. We've touched on burnout because of, being in business or being in the corporate space, or burnout because of masking. But this is unique, right? It's the burnout that comes from being on social media or living out loud, using your voice, whether it's on social media or not. But I do think, and you can tell me if what your experience has been, there's something about living out loud on social media that kind of, I think people feel a little more emboldened to push back or to say things that they would never say to your face. So it is a choice that you make, knowing that, you might get some pretty harsh responses. But I think what I'm thinking about right now, you mentioned before the values piece, and how every time that I attend a course on leadership or even on marketing, it always starts with values, and it starts with who are you? What are you offering? What are you giving? What need are you meeting? Right. But also, what are your values? And I think what I'm hearing, I'm extrapolating from what you're saying is like, know your values before you start to market, before you start to talk about your business, before you build your website, because not only is it good to have just one clear message from a marketing perspective, but also it seems like every day you're making micro choices around that you don't always have the time to just like analyze, or what is this going to look like next week, a month, a year, 5 years, right? How is this going to look down the road? Because oftentimes it's rapid fire choices. You talked about checking in, and I'm wondering, Deborah, for you, like, what was it like to finally choose, like, this is my voice, this is how I'm going to use it, even if there are negative consequences?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so it's so kind of a multi-layered answer, but I will say so right now my business is 100% online. I'm a coach. I have a course that I sell. I have a hybrid group coaching program, and I do one-on-one technical build out of funnels for people. So some clients just hire me. They're like, I don't have time to do this. Help me strategize and build the thing. And it's lead generation and sales, right? So around there, but I should say all of my clients are these sort of soulful, purpose driven. I work with a lot of people who care. So they're not
Yeah.
just like build me a funnel. Like we do the work together. I coach them a little bit on how to get to the place where they're like really stoked about their offer. But then sometimes I just do the work for them. And then I also have a group coaching program where we move through the program together. And that business, the entire model of this business was built based on what I consider to be like a failed business model from my first business. And I call it a failed business model because it was not a business model. It was me just piling more and more things on top of my to-do list. So as the business grew and scaled, I was like entrenched in the core function of it, and it could not function without me. Like the longest break I ever took in the 15-year span of running that business was 2 weeks. And the whole time I was gone, I was like, is this going to fall apart while I'm gone? Like I built a business that could not function without me and led to serious burnout. Like I really did go through, uh, I would say about a 2 year period of recovery from the level of exhaustion that I felt when I shut down completely my first business. I was still working, but it was like I was dysfunctional. And so now when new clients come into my business, or if I work with the person from scratch, or if the first module in my course is about the foundational stuff that is going to help you stay really stable when the boat rocks and
Yes.
build a structure and an operation for your business that prioritizes your wellness. Because if you don't, you are building on a foundation that's missing the most key element of your whole life. So now
Mm.
my clients, we start with like literally, what do you want your day to look like? And we do an exercise around core values, which is really fun, actually. It's an opportunity to kind of look back at your whole life and say, what are all the things that I have already accomplished? Even if you go all the way back to high school when you won like the tennis match, or like what are the things that are highlights, the highlight reel of the things that make you most proud about your life? Why do they make you feel proud?
Yeah.
Did you collect all the Girl Scout badges and now you have like this really, do you have pride around having completed some type of program in your life, or serving volunteer kitchen work at some type of a shelter? Or is it a trip that you took that was just an exciting adventure you went on that you gave yourself permission to do? Like, what are the things that matter the most when you look back, and the accomplishments and the skills, the experiences? And when you start to look at this giant list, it's like a one-page document that's just all the things that are kind of like the highlight reel. You start to see, oh, I was always doing something in service to women. Oh, I was always making sure that it was ethical. I never used those unethical tactics. Oh, I was always really clear about the financial piece. And I always made sure that everybody got paid really well inside that business. That's a core value. That your employees are treated like human beings is a core value. That women should be treated equal as men is a core value. And there can be lots of core values that are a little bit more aesthetic and esoteric, but there's going to be some foundational beliefs that are who you are based on your lived experience and what drove you to make certain decisions. And we don't think about that all day long in like a lump sum.
Yeah.
So when you do
Mm.
this exercise, it can help you to just realize like, oh, I do have core values. I've lived them. Look what I did there, 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 and there. And that's all the same thing. And it helps you to kind of realize I'm bringing the, and you can sift and sort. What am I bringing with me into building my brand voice? So in answer to the question, like when I decided I was going to completely, I mean, the pandemic helped me make a decision about my service-based business. It was not, we had to shut down, citywide catering company, multiple pop-up juice bars. Like it was a big operation that got shut down. But I was thrilled. I was burnt out. So I was like, oh, you mean I don't have to ever do that again? So, I was like actually really genuinely like, wow, somebody up there in the higher, realm of quantum energy is taking care of me. Because
Mhm.
I no longer ever have to do a 5 a.m. pickup of 12 cases of cucumbers. We're good. And just kind of like that was information, right? The relief that I felt when my multifaceted, multi 6 and 7 figure business operation was shut down, and I was like ecstatic.
Yes.
That's pretty
Yes.
big information. No amount of money will ever replace you having a lifestyle that you feel safe, comfortable, healthy, and like your life is on track to experience the joy that you're after. Like, so we built these businesses and we're chasing money and we're chasing validation, or at least I was as a younger entrepreneur, straight up. And you get to this place where you reach the financial goal that you thought you were after and you're miserable. Or in my case, I was not happy because I was working from 5 a.m. to like 7 p.m. every day because the business
Mm.
couldn't run without me always being on. I was always on. That's a
Yeah.
recipe for disaster. So now I had to take a major step back and say, what do I really, really care about? What is the hill that I will die on? What are the things I can take from what I learned from doing business and that I will stand on and, slap my name on any day? And what are the things that I have to own were actually really like cracked foundation from the get-go? And a lot of that is like ego woven into business decisions, like proving energy that was young life stuff that I have to really just own, be honest about, and then release with love, right? And say, like, okay, we did that. We were, making decisions based on the wrong set of criteria. And so now finding my voice and being comfortable with who I am as a business owner, it really does look like, would I say this to my mother? Would I say this to my best friend? If I would say this to the core found my husband, the people in my life who I trust and value their opinion more than anybody, then I should be able to say it to my audience. And so if I believe, a certain thing that happens to be, I don't know, like these issues that are now becoming political issues should almost, some of them should not be like, nobody should be like, yeah, we're just going to ignore, wholesale starvation of an entire country of human beings like that or whatever, right? So there's some things where I think it's just more humanitarian crisis and we feel helpless, but there's some things where it is your opinion that you're going to go out into public spaces and share. I think run yourself through a foundational checklist. Like, are these things that I'll die on that hill and I'll defend this even if I get attacked for it?
Hmm.
Um, Interesting thing that I want to add, which is that if you listen to people in the social media space who I think are like who have a lot of followers because what they do is successful. So like Instagram, social media managers, and people who strategize specifically for like LinkedIn or Facebook groups or whatever, you will hear the piece of advice that strategically for you to stand out against your competition, you need to have contrarian content. Contrarian
Oh.
content is
Hmm.
obviously finding a trend on the internet that is like everyone's saying do this and then taking either a stance against that or exerting an opinion, inserting your opinion to stand out against that. And the purpose of being contrarian is to get seen by people,
Yeah.
be
Mm.
seen as a leader. So it's
Yeah.
people will tell you strategically and advise you to create contrarian content.
Mhm.
However, if you create contrarian content, you're inviting dissent. You're
Yes.
saying, come argue with me.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Come say why you think I'm wrong. And
Yeah.
the key there is that any reaction bubbles you up in the algorithm and gets more eyeballs on your content. So there are some people for whom their entire strategy is contrarian, right? They're just going to go out there all day long and say, disagree with the gurus and tell you why you're not going to do this good. And it's a social media strategy to become a target essentially, because at the end of the day, it's going to rapidly grow your audience, get all those eyeballs on your offer, and it's a numbers game. So we know statistically that if your offer is good and you have proven results, all you need to do is amplify the eyeballs on your thing. And so people go out there and they create these like not values based, not like identity solid pieces of content just to like throw a punch in the open marketplace because they know that's going to invite a little kerfuffle, and that's what they want. They want to be seen. And so they don't care if their content is values based at all. It's a strategy that a lot of people use. I'm not going to say it's unethical. It's not what I want to do,
Mm,
but it's kind of
mm,
just not authentic, right? It's like not really aligned with who you are as a person. Or maybe it is. Maybe you're a contrarian person who just wants to fight in the marketplace.
yeah.
But the reason I bring it up is because like once again, like that's an entire strategy
Mhm.
that is like not at all aligned with something like a core value or an identity. And I think if you're somebody who cares deeply about being aligned in your business, who wants to be of service to a certain type of person for whom core values are going to really matter, then I would honestly, advise creating a lead generation strategy and a sales strategy that don't rely on social media at all. Because the way to use social media as your top of funnel is going to require you to constantly, like you were saying, like put out, be living life out loud out there, to keep the eyeballs on your stuff, on your content. It's
Right.
it's it's tough.
Yeah. And Deborah, I really appreciate you calling out the recognition of what's happening in a lot of advertising right now in terms of being contrarian simply for the purpose of getting in front of more eyes and getting more conversations going. And the more conversations I've seen, even like within the, marketing and like the retail and like relevant industries, the more that even the industry is recognizing that, yes, these strategies are getting a lot of eyes on them, but they're not translating to sales. And that's why, they're looking at so many of these marketing teams, having to switch their strategies because it's not just about everybody talking about your product or your service, because if the only thing that's happening is people talking and not buying, then it's not getting to your offer, the core of what we've been talking about this whole time. Like the story has to support whatever your call to action is. And when we separate from our principles and our values, then people automatically see that this is not authentic messaging. And I love how you capture so comprehensively and with so much heart, almost like this juxtaposition of a visual of like our principal foundations and the foundational role of storytelling. Because when you tell stories that you are connected with at their very core, and that core is also related to what you do, then you get to use both at the same time. And it's almost like, if you open up a Lego set and like half the pieces are missing, it's not going to be the finished product. And so you've got to use all of your building blocks, all of the building blocks that make who you are as a person to present yourself and your offer to your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also what makes marketing fun because think about it. There's a bazillion business coaches. I'm one of bazillion, literally. And so why choose me?
Mm,
Well, I play the acoustic guitar. Like
mm,
that's just one teeny detail that makes me different than the woman sitting next to me who doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm.
I don't have any pets, but I do have a bear that walks through my backyard every day. Now you know I have a bear in my yard, and I play. So it's just like you're starting to get more of a picture, right? It's like already we're one step deeper into each other's worlds just by these little nuanced, the shaping of your story and the environment that, the way that you present the thing that you sell, I think is best housed in the sort of everyday details of who you actually are as a living a life person. That's what makes it interesting. That's going to make me say, "Oh, I want to work with her because she also really loves picking blueberries," or so I don't know, I'm making that up, but like the details are where we find the hooks.
Mm,
So I think storytelling, not only is it the most, magnetic way to capture the attention of your audience, but it's also where you're transferring those little tidbits that, whether you realize it or not, are helping your audience decide whether or not you're aligned.
Mhm,
mhm,
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and
I
that's coming from a place of alignment and not disagreement.
think too, because I think, like, traditional marketing is like, whenever like, if you think about marketing as the way it was, let's say in the 80s, you probably think about, like, some cheesy used car salesman commercial or something like, this is the best deal in town, kind of like these ads that we grew up with that are kind of that shape our idea of what salesmen are like and what it is like to be that kind of person. But I think that, the internet, say what you want about it, but it's given us this really big platform on which to test out a lot of different things. And I actually love social media as top of funnel for the people for whom it is a good fit. I think that's a personality like type issue. I think that's really like it really is about capacity codes, right? Do you have the capacity to connect in that way with a large number of people and manage it? If you do, awesome, that's going to be helpful. But no matter what, I want you to have that foundation set up behind the scenes so that any way that you open a door to your world and invite people in, whether it's, literally, I have a client who I'm like, let's just go hang a flyer down at the farmer's market in your town. Because same thing, this is my other client that really could not see herself getting on social media. It was like a hell no. And I was like, great. We created like some training videos for her. She's a gut health coach and she specifically makes fermented foods. So her passion is to help people heal their gut through fermented beets and things like that. Awesome. So specific. Lots of people want to learn this. She created a video. We put it up online so you can easily go find it. You can buy this little training and work with her directly. How are we going to let people know about it? We literally hung flyers in her town with QR codes that go to the thing. And that story, when you get to the thing, you find out that 7 generations of women in her family have been passing down this recipe. So
Mm.
already you want the recipe
wow.
because it's 7 generations of women, Russian, her family, she's Russian. And it was like
Mm.
this really fantastic story. And they have all amazing skin. And she's
Mm.
like, my skin's like this because I do gut health. Like that's
Mm.
the whole promo. But
Yeah.
it's like the story is so fascinating right from the get-go. We just tell the story of her great 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 grandmother. And you can see her skin is amazing, right? And then there's the recipe, and you can get it for, whatever, this low price point. It's so easy to just put your money in and buy and get the recipe and work with her to learn this thing. And
Mm.
it's very aligned with, who she is. And it's a safe way for her to market her product and make sales of a digital video that's just automatic. It's evergreen. You can buy it right now. So it's an easy thing for her to create. It leads to people working one-on-one with her, but she doesn't want to do social media. But if she were to do social media, all she needs to do is she could create an Instagram channel or a TikTok and make little videos of her in her kitchen. All that's going to do is put gasoline on that fire, but the fire is already burning. She has a back
Mm,
end
Mm.
system that is automated and evergreen. So no matter where people come from, whether it's the farmer's market, word of mouth, or if she were to decide to do something to amplify her reach, like, go on the local news, pitch herself to be in an article in a magazine, speak on a stage, or like we said, social media. To me, social media is just one of the many ways you can amplify your reach. And so no matter what, I want you to have a back end operation that's tested, tried, true, and running smoothly before you spend any of your time doing any of the marketing things that you might do.
absolutely. Well, you heard it here, folks. The answer is not always social media, and Deborah knows exactly like all of the different and even non-traditional ways of marketing your work. This is so incredibly special, and I have to say this message that there is not only one way to do things for your business in a holistic way is so incredibly inspiring. And I think it's also a really great way of looking at the different ways that we can meet our audience too, because like when we actually take a step back and consider all the different ways that we can reach our audience, we have to recognize that, you know, not everybody is looking for services or products on social media. Like some of our audience is not on there on any of the platforms. And so it's also a tribute to recognizing the desire to connect with our audience over like wanting a follower count or like that engagement or, you know, something of that nature, and showing that dedication to connecting with our audience first and foremost.
Yeah, I think that's ground zero is just like, who do you want to serve? How can
Hmm.
you have a conversation with them? And that is like the first really important rung on the ladder. And it may lead you to creating social media accounts that serve that purpose. But I like to think about it like if you're really clear, like let's say you what you do for a living is bake bread and you have this recipe like crystal clear, you've got it down pat. It's anybody can learn this and they can make their own bread. Well, that's a really awesome thing that you can sell to people, share with people, teach people, whatever. Now you just have to think to yourself, who are the people who are going to most want to learn my bread recipe? And how can I get them all together in a room and serve them one to many? That's the way to like, right, scaling your income is going to be about, amplifying the way you can connect to people. And again, like, what is the capacity that you have? But there's also just so many different ways that you can build that audience, invite them into safe, like I think of it as like safe spaces in your house. Like your online presence is like you built a little house on the internet, and what's inside that house is your offers, and your marketing is all the different pathways that lead to your house. So it's good to have an online presence, to have, either an email service provider with a public fronting page or a website or a community space, whatever it is, because then you have a digital home base.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of ways to invite people inside there. And yeah, I think it's really important that people don't force themselves to do things they don't want to do.
Mm.
That's never gonna work.
Mhm.
I will say, Lyndie, for speaking about just specifically for the coaching industry, I just released a podcast episode about I did a bunch of research on kind of like what are the top highest converting funnels specifically for coaches and service providers.
Mhm.
And besides speaking on stage, like being presented by an organization and being told like this is an expert, she's going to speak, and then just flashing a QR code where there's, if you get presented on a stage, obviously you're top of the game. You've been hired to speak publicly. That's a pretty big
Mhm.
audience. But a really fantastic mechanism is the good old-fashioned webinar. And they are still working like gangbusters to convert coaching clients. And you can simply run an ad to a landing page for whatever the topic is of your expertise. And that's what I've been doing for many, many years. I teach a couple times a month for free. And at the end, there's always, how can you work with me?
Mhm.
I moved away from like big, gratuitous launches because they burned me out. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh my God, I don't want to do this. And so if
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, there's got to be another way. And what I do love doing is these micro classrooms where you're leaving with a ton of value, whether or not you ever decide to work with me. I serve my mission, which is helping more women build, scale their businesses and earn more money because you went off and took that nugget and you applied it and you got someplace. And if 20 people come to a webinar, at least 5 of them are probably going to take me up on a discovery call or check out my offers. So it's just an easy, fun way to actually get in a room with people. They can feel your energy. They learn something and they take away some value, whether or not they buy. It often leads to a sale, and it's like a low stakes way to just connect authentically. And I do that already. So I was really happy to see statistically that it's also considered still in 2025 one of the most high converting funnels, I'm doing it in quotes because it doesn't feel like that automated evergreen funnel that's like all the different hoops that you might jump through, but it's basically just running an ad to your event. And the
Mm.
event is you in a room speaking about your topic of expertise and then sharing how people can hire you. Like super basic, but it works.
Yeah.
Right.
Such important information. And Deborah, we're so grateful for all of this. I mean, I know you've shared such a wealth from your years of experience and knowledge, but also I really appreciate your emphasis on authenticity and sustainability, because I think, we've all heard whatever industry we're in, we've all heard versions of become someone else in order to either be accepted in your work or be respected or make money, right? There's that messaging everywhere in just about any space.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciate your emphasis on finding that foundation, sticking with your core values, be who you are, even if it feels like you're taking a risk because it's connected with your core values. I think that's such an important message. And also just some really great information about, marketing a small business. This has been so valuable. So Deborah, thank you so much for your time. And we would love to know, when you're not in the burnout break room, where can we find you?
Yeah, so I have a podcast. It's called Mindset to Market. It's on every major streaming platform. It's a weekly episodic show. I do some solo episodes and I have some amazing guests, and it's hyper focused on supporting solopreneurs in building sustainable systems. So every single episode is some facet of that ongoing mission. It's just to help make marketing easier for people who have their own business.
Mm.
And my website is deborahcsmith.com. And my name is spelled the biblical way. It's DeborahCSmith. And I have links to freebies and things like that, lots of free trainings and resources. And yeah, and I'm also on Instagram. I have social media accounts kind of across the board, but my behavior there is interestingly like a mix of sharing what I'm working on and just kind of glimpses of life and kind of keep it balanced in that way.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And Caitlin, what about you? When you're not in the burnout break room, where can we find you?
Folks can find me at CaitlinTruhella.com. And there you can also find all my social media, everything from TikTok, Instagram. So for everybody who's looking for creative coaching or looking to do an ideation session, have brainstorming about your next entrepreneurship venture, and they can get in touch with me there. And Lyndie, when you're not in the break room, where can people find you?
So LyndieLarimore.com, that's where you will find information on hiring me as a coach or consulting for creating burnout-free spaces. You can also find me on Instagram, and similarly, you'll see some about my work. You might hear me sing a thing or two, and yeah, see a little bit about my life, which I now hear from an expert is not a bad idea. So thank you.
Yeah, no, the more you can be your authentic self, I think the more the right people are going to find you.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we've definitely got our homework cut out for us.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna relook at everything. But yeah. I think I love that it's find your North Star and then just follow it.
Yeah, and I would just final thought is just if you're questioning how to get to that place, probably the most valuable entrepreneurial tool that I have developed in the last 20 years is learning to listen to my gut instinct.
Mm,
Like just
mm,
it's in your body. Your gut
mm.
is going to tell you if it's a yes or a no every single time. And you can develop that intuition by practicing listening and just literally feeling like, do I feel sick to my stomach good? Like it's pushing me out of my comfort zone and I'm going to grow from this? Or do I feel sick to my stomach bad? Like I really don't want to do this and I should not be doing this. And
Mm,
it's in there. Your navigation system is like our natural GPS is always going to give us the right answer.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
listen to the
Thank
gut.
you. Such a great mic drop moment to end the episode on. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I love the break room.
Thanks for
Thank you,
being here.
Deborah.
See everyone next week.
See you then. Bye.